Whenever girly fashion is discussed, whether it's cottagecore, coquette, or full-on kawaii, there is a debate about whether or not women dress this way to impress men. However, it won't be the sole focus of my video. The reason why is because there are already a lot of videos that talk about this topic. In fact, if you look up coquette in Google, the first articles that pop up are articles of people just talking about this. There are so many more unexplored topics about girly fashion I want to discuss in this video, such as how it's perceived in the West versus how it's perceived in Asia.
Whoa, hold on. Why is this even a debate in the first place? Why can't women just wear whatever makes them feel comfortable? Why do people assume everything women do is for male attention?
Yeah, I wish people saw it that way too. If men like stereotypically manly things like Marvel or Star Wars movies, no one bats an eye. Even if they collect toys, like Lego Star Wars sets, no one will think it's childish. Many men also like these things and find a nostalgic comfort in Star Wars, superheroes, and other similar things. But when a girl buy a Hello Kitty plush, people ask, why are you buying toys? That's so childish. By the way, I am not making fun of men who like manly things. I am just trying to ask, why is it manly things are considered normal, but if a woman likes girly things, people think it's weird? There's a stereotype women do things to appeal to men. If a woman simply wears makeup, some people will assume it's because she wants to impress a guy. But maybe she put it on because it's just fun. It's fun to match makeup with an outfit. It's fun to express yourself in fashion. Similarly, women who dress girly, whether it be coquette or balletcore or full-on kawaii, are often doing it because they like it and feel happy wearing it. But people assume that women do it to appeal to men. Just like how some men feel about Star Wars, feminine aesthetics bring comfort to some women because it makes them feel nostalgic. However, are there women who do it to appeal to men? Even though it isn't most women, a few women do. It can be because of feelings of insecurity. But most women just wear cute fashion for fun because it makes them happy. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about girly fashion. Part 1. The Western perception of girly media. In the 2000s, a lot of people were critiquing Disney princess movies. They said the movies were anti-feminist and portray women as weak and helpless. The same thing happened with Barbie. If you look closely at current merchandise, Barbie and Disney princess merchandise have been heavily toned down to look less girly. As you can see, current Barbie merch is still pink, but much less pink than in the 2000s. This is merchandise from the early 2000s for comparison. Disney princess merch has also toned down the pink and glitter, replacing it with purple. It's still a stereotypically girly color, but you can see it doesn't compare to the cutesiness of the 2000s. This shows us that in the West and in other non-Asian countries there was this shift in the 2000s, where girliness was suddenly seen as weak and anti-feminist. But people forget the original message of Barbie and Disney princess movies were actually empowering to women.
I've got the clothes from every career I've ever had.
You went to the moon?
You haven't?
You see, Barbie from the 2000s was an icon. She shows you can still love fashion and girly things and still be smart too. This applies to Disney princesses too. One day I heard a girl say that the Little Mermaid is weak, that all she does is wish for a man. By the way, she was referring to the original film, not the reboot. But that actually contradicts the lyrics of the song Part of Your World. I probably can't show the clip so I don't get in trouble with copyright lol. But it did remind me I made an animation of Part of Your World a couple years ago, so for fun I'll show it on screen while we talk, since I never posted it lol. Unfortunately, I can't sync it to the song because I'm scared of copyright strikes lol. But I spent a long time on this and never posted it, so now I have an excuse lol. Ariel starts the song by talking about her fascination to the human world itself, not just a man. She sings about how she likes to collect trinkets from the human world, but it's not enough to her. She is fascinated and wants to go up to the human world. She sings about how she wishes to experience what it's like to run, to jump, and to feel the warmth of the sun. Notice how in the lyrics, Ariel wants to learn about how the human world works and she wants to know why fire burns. Ariel was already collecting trinkets from the human world before she fell for Prince Eric. She was already fascinated with it before she fell for him. Ariel is smart. She thinks for herself. Ariel questions things no one else dared question. She questions why the mermaids are prejudiced against humans when she's seen good humans with kind hearts. Thanks to Ariel, the mermaids begin to realize their prejudice, and they change for the better. I don't see how this is weak. Just because Ariel liked a man doesn't make her weak. Sure, she isn't perfect, but she is smart, compassionate, and thinks for herself. I think that's a really good example of girl power. Unfortunately, many people still believe that being feminine is some kind of weakness. And as I mentioned, this is a contradiction. They claim women are strong and smart, but they can't be too feminine or like feminine things. That to be strong and smart you have to resemble a man. See how it's a contradiction? If you think about it, if we claim being feminine is weak, then we are saying women are weak and men are stronger and smarter. By the way, I wanna say really quick, if you are a girl and you are a tomboy, that's cool too. Whatever makes you feel comfortable and happy, go for it. What I'm trying to say is if women are obligated not to be too feminine, we are saying being a woman is somehow bad, and being a man is the default or better.
Hold on. You said you were going to talk about how kawaii culture is perceived in non-Asian countries. You spent this video only talking about Western media, but kawaii originates in Asia.
My bunny sidekick is right, but I mentioned Western media first for a reason. You see, kawaii is a hyper-feminine aesthetic that originates from Asia, so in order to explain how the West perceives kawaii, we had to talk about how it sees femininity in general first.
Okay, now that you're done talking about that, how do non-Asian countries perceive kawaii culture?
The answer is, well, complicated. Part 2. How the West perceives kawaii culture. You see, in the West, Asia slowly began to bring merchandise and anime. Celebrities like Mariah Carey, Paris Hilton, and Rihanna began to show up in Hello Kitty merch, as Sanrio was trying to promote to a Western audience. Sanrio collaborated with McDonald's, and Sanrio opened shops outside Asia. Hello Kitty and her friends became a household name, but in the West it was still perceived as childish. As I mentioned earlier, feminine aesthetics are seen as childish or weak in the West. But things did slowly begin to change. Anime became mainstream outside of Asia. Popular celebrities like Gwen Stefani, Nicki Minaj, and Ariana Grande began to wear kawaii or kawaii-inspired looks. Avril Lavigne made a song called Kawaii, but we won't go into too much depth because there were many controversies, and if I do, this video will be hours long. Lol. These celebrities are popular, and although I recognize them, I don't know much about them because I mostly listen to K-pop. Lol. The point is, this began to expose countries outside of Asia to kawaii fashion. In fact, the West began to produce media inspired by Asian media. For example, think of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which took heavy inspiration from anime, or cute characters such as Pusheen, who seemed to be inspired by cute characters like Sanrio and Sen-X. During 2019, Hello Kitty began to show up on Pinterest and TikTok in the indie aesthetic community. In response, stores began to bring back Sanrio merchandise again, and everyone accepted kawaii culture and stopped judging others for liking cute things. And we all lived happily ever after. Actually, no. Things are unfortunately not that simple. Remember how I said in the West femininity is considered weak and childish? Well, companies like Sanrio noticed that. The designer of My Melody, for example, mentioned how even though My Melody is popular in Japan because of how cute she is, outside Japan, My Melody was seen as childish because of her pastel pink hood compared to Hello Kitty. This year, My Melody ranked 6th most popular Sanrio character worldwide, so I am not saying she is unpopular, but the winners were the boys. And in the USA, My Melody didn't even make it to the top 10. She did make it in the top 10 in a couple other non-Asian countries, such as Brazil and Germany. Anyways, you might think, how is this related to how the West sees kawaii? Well, This is what Sanrio often looks like outside of Asia. They have harsh, bold colors and the characters have thick black outlines. It's like the designer was told don't make it too cutesy. But in Asia, Sanrio characters are drawn with thin lines and pastel colors. They even get to wear cute kawaii outfits. I'm sad, I wish all their merch looked like this. But things aren't hopeless. Outside of Asia, Miniso, which sells Asian merch, is beginning to sell outside of Japan. But Western merch is still more popular in the West. It's also often cheaper than Asian merch. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, kawaii culture is becoming more well known, but it's still not perfect, and unfortunately, kawaii companies often westernize themselves, because the West still sees femininity as weak and childish.
If that's true, why have aesthetics like coquette and cottagecore become popular in the West?
They have become popular in the West, but there's a few things to keep in mind. The coquette aesthetic is cute and feminine, but kawaii fashion is extremely hyper-feminine in comparison. Even in more casual kawaii outfits, the level of cuteness and details is more emphasized than in coquette. I know someone will say, but real coquette is Americana. I know, but even then, it still isn't as cutesy as kawaii. Kawaii is like that aesthetic taken to a more extreme lol. Also, remember how I said in the West they toned down Sanrio to make it look less childish. The same thing goes for coquette. They will sell something with just a bow illustration, but try to avoid making it look too cutesy, because if it's too cutesy then it'll be seen as childish. I am not saying that wearing shirts with bows is bad. I think it can be styled well. I am just trying to say that designers are afraid to all out in cuteness, which proves my point from earlier. The West is still scared to be too cute. Part 3. Stereotypes. So at my old job, I wore kawaii fashion. One day a woman approached me and she was like, "What ethnicity are you?" I was curious to know what she thought I was, so I said, "What do you guess is my ethnicity?" She said to me, "You don't look white, but the way you talk throws me off." Then she wouldn't stop talking about how I was different from girls of my ethnicity, how I'm soft-spoken and different, and I didn't really know what to say. I just nodded my head confused. If you look online, there's many stereotypes of black and brown women. Unfortunately, they are portrayed as loud, angry, and overall less feminine than Asian and white women. I've even met people in real life who believe this. But why is it in the year 2025 we still think that your personality is determined by your ethnicity? So, this is why I always draw women of different ethnicities wearing kawaii fashion. I feel like every girl deserves to feel like a princess regardless of what stereotypes say. Basically the point of this video overall. Wear whatever makes you feel comfortable and happy regardless if people think it's silly. Thank you for hearing me yap in another video. And thank you so much for 30 subscribers. Okay, bye.